what I found too is likes are good, shares are great, comments are best. So I would say that when it comes to what we're talking about here, if you can find ways to add to the conversation, that's the best thing you can do over a like and even a share, is to engage in conversation on their post. Welcome to the Authentically Social Podcast. My name's Corey Perlman, and I'm here with my wife, Jessica Perlman. In the past, it was perfectly acceptable to pay no attention to what's going on behind the curtain. But today, that's exactly what your audience wants to see. This podcast unpacks tried and true principles to put culture, community, and connection at the core of your digital strategy. Let's get going. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's Corey, Jess, on to another Authentically Social Principle. Excited to talk with you all today. What do we got?
All right. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. We are happy to have you here. So our Authentically Social Principle for today is be down with OPP. And the mantra we want you to keep in mind is, hey, never doubt the power of a digital high five. I was going to high five you with that hand, but it didn't work out so well. We should really practice that before. So when I think of OPP, I think of, OPP? What is OPP when it comes to being authentically social?
Yeah, let me be very, very clear with the listeners out there that other people's property is not what I am referring to here, obviously. But what I'm talking about when it comes to OPP is other people's posts. And so it is a fun reminder for those of us old enough to remember that fun song, that it is really important for us to concentrate some of our efforts on social on adding to the conversations of others. So this has nothing to do with posting to social. It has everything to do with commenting on other people's posts on the platforms that you frequent most. And that's what being down with OPP means, being down with other people's posts.
Okay, so that makes sense. And then when we're thinking about, so you said we want to be spending some time on this, right? You want to make it part of maybe our weekly schedule. Why should we do that, number one? And then how is a good way to kind of schedule that into our existing busy schedule that we've got going on?
So there's a couple of reasons why this is important. Number one is it keeps you top of mind with people that you care about and people that you may or may not want to do business with. So we've all seen this. It's kind of like what they call the like economy or whatever. When somebody comments or likes on your content, it feels good. You notice it. I notice when Mark or Stephanie or Samantha or whomever comments. And so we've also seen, and I've had this happen to me, and I'm sure some of you have had that happen, where maybe you had a proposal on somebody's desk or a question or something that hadn't gotten back to yet, whatever, they're busy. And you commented on something, and then 5 minutes later, you got an email magically. Well, what happened was you jumped in their radar, not in a sleazy kind of whatever way, but they're like, they saw your name, they appreciated your comment. They're, oh, I owe Corey an email, or I owe whatever. And so it's a great way to get back on the radar with people, a friendly reminder, an easy way to stay top of mind with the people that we care about, the people that we serve. So one of the things that I do, not just with prospects, but specifically with our clients, is I engage with our clients' content. So anybody that we serve, I want to make sure that I am going out and adding to the conversation on their post. So that's one. Number two is something that's very important, is with the algorithms for social. So they want conversation to happen on their social channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of them. Specifically LinkedIn, I'm talking about too, where conversations are absolutely critical to what they consider their number one metric on their site. So by you going out and conversing on other people's content, it tells them that you're willing to engage in conversation. And what we've found, and what I know a lot of my colleagues have found, is that that also helps engagement with your own content as well. So essentially, LinkedIn's saying if you're willing to converse and you're willing to communicate and get into conversations on social or on our platform, then when you post stuff on yours, we're going to show it to more people and get you that same type of conversation as well. So take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, but that's what we've noticed. So a big thing to getting you more engagement on your stuff is you going out and giving more content and communication on their stuff. Now, one other thing I want to say, and I'll turn it back over to you, is that what I found too is likes are good, shares are great, comments are best. So I would say that when it comes to what we're talking about here, if you can find ways to add to the conversation, that's the best thing you can do over a like and even a share, is to engage in conversation on their post.
It's interesting too, because it does seem like over time, the weight of likes has kind of changed, right? Like the algorithm is always changing. So it's noticing some of that. But I have seen where if I make a significant effort to go out and engage with other people's posts, comments, do that, I see then, my information all of a sudden is being pushed a little bit further to the top of the feed, which is kind of, you wouldn't necessarily think that has so much weight, but it does seem to be taking a little bit more precedence. I think too, engaging outside of some of the comments, even with the introduction of stories with Instagram and Reels, I think that also, do you have any thoughts on people engaging with that particular content and how it might affect, or if you even recommend that?
Yeah, I think when people are engaged with my Reels and stories, and you obviously can do different ways. You can, send hearts or, things of that nature, direct messages, all that stuff is helpful. Some of it's not public. So you lose a little bit of that side, but you gain a little bit of somebody just, depositing a little bit of that, what they, the like economy. So it's really important to be able to get people to engage in your stories and Reels and such, but you lose a little bit of the public side of it because a lot of it comes directly to you. But people do really appreciate seeing that you are interacting and engaging with their Reels and their stories on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, social media is the new form of relationship building for your business, right? So you have an opportunity to build those relationships, whether they be through the comments or through your DMs and your direct messages. And then you pull them from that online platform, maybe into a conversation about your services. And so it does seem to work symbiotically with making sure that they are building the relationship online and then bringing that offline as well. Let's talk about some best practices to encourage. You mentioned the time that you should spend. So what are some best practices, or even a story that you might have from the stage of whenever you've heard of people really taking this action into their business?
So the question I'm often asked in this area is, how much time should I spend? I often recommend 15 minutes a day, if you can afford that, of just going in purely with the idea of going in and engaging in other people's posts. So I go out on LinkedIn, I go out on Instagram and Facebook. Those are usually the platforms that I use. And I just scroll through and I specifically take that time to engage with other people's content. I will like some of it. I won't comment on all of it. And I'll only do it when I feel it. So I want to make sure this is an authentic strategy, not an artificial strategy. So, I won't just like or comment on anything. I will find stuff that actually moves the needle for me, whether it be value or emotion or whatever. And then when I can find places where I can answer a question or ask a question or just engage in the conversation, then I will. And I'll do that for about 15 or 20 minutes, per session, and then move on about my day. So that's one area. The other best practice I would say is make sure you're adding value to the conversation. Try not to, great post, Steve, great post. That's good, but the more you can add a little bit of your own perspective or insights, or maybe even ask a question, we'll continue on the conversation, make it a bit more meaningful, I think. So that's one other best practice. Obviously choose the platforms where you're most comfortable. So if you're not on Instagram all the time and LinkedIn's a place for you, then I would spend the majority of the time there. So prioritize your time on the platforms that make the most sense to you. And then one other thing is, of course, make sure that you engage in the comments that happen on your own stuff as well. So although I'm telling you to go to other people's posts, I also want you to go to other people's comments on your posts. What I mean by that is if people are engaging with your stuff, absolutely make sure to thank them, to answer them, and to continue the conversation that way. If you take one thing away from today, it's create conversation on social, not just likes and stuff like that. And so that goes both ways. That's on their pages as well as your own.
Yeah, I call that don't post and ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So don't post something out there that you're really like, you've spent the time creating it. You really have put some thought behind it. You put it out on the social media and then you walk away for 3 days and don't come back to it. A lot of times that will also work with the algorithm too. If there's interaction on your content, right, whenever it's posted, comments, likes, not such, then that will give you a little bit of boost on the algorithm space as well. So those are all really great tips. I mean, I think if we were to narrow it down, with 3 takeaways for today, what would those be? So I can go out, after this podcast and apply them directly to my business.
I would say, commit to spending that 15 minutes a day and kind of find your right tribe that makes the most sense for you to engage with their content on. For me, that happens to be a lot of our clients. That happens to be a few of my colleagues that I just want to support and I enjoy their conversation. So it tends to be the same 15 or 20 people, and that can vary, obviously, depending upon, but I am a little strategic on that. But I would say carve out the time, put it in your calendar if you need to, 15 minutes a day to go out and engage with other people's posts. And I think you will see multiple benefits in different ways by doing that.
Well, there you go. There you have it. That's the best way for you to be down with OPP. And you're welcome. That song will be in your head for the rest of the day. Don't forget to never doubt the power of a digital high five. This is Jessica and Corey signing off and saying, have an authentically social kind of day. Take care. Thanks for listening. We're over here giving you a digital high five for completing another episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to take a screen grab and share it across your social media. Don't forget to tag us at Corey Perlman Speaks. I hope we can stay connected by following each other as we are excited to see more of your social media journey.